Okay, now that I have my rings casted, I'm going to use this mini bolt cutter to cut the sprue off. So I'm going to go along here, grab at the bottom, just going to clip it off. It comes off pretty easily. And I'll do the other one real quick. Hang on to this, because I like to hang on to these, because this is, if you noticed before, we actually recast these into rings again. What I would like you to do is one of your partners, takes us to the sink. There usually are toothbrushes. I want you to see if you can get, you're not going to get all of this plaster, but get a lot of it off, because it kind of messes up casting a little bit. You can pick at it. Don't spend more than 2 minutes cleaning it up, and then you're going to turn this back into me so we can recast it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this off real quick with water. Okay, after I get it all clean, we're going to start using our files, like I said, and as well as our sandpaper, so we should be all set. Now the first thing is getting the sprue end off. You can use a large rasp to try to get off, but it does take a while. I'm going to show you a trick that works pretty good. So you can see that I'm back over at this sander, and you can use a large one as well, but I'm just using this one because it's quieter. And it's a little slower, but it still works. I'm going to turn it on, and you take this and you're going to just push it in. It's a little annoying at first. And you just keep pushing it in, and you'll see that, I'm going to over to the camera here, you see that it starts taking all that off. So you got to be careful not to take too much off, but I'll show you how to know. You got to be a little careful with it because it ends up getting super hot, and if you touch it, it'll kind of burn your skin. What I'm looking for is I'm looking to make sure that I'm hitting, in this case this is brass, I'm hitting it so I don't see a kind of a circle line anywhere that your sprue was at. I'm going to turn it over because I also want to get this other side. Okay, you can see that I have all the sprue off now. I might have a little bit right here. I might try to get a little bit more, and then I'm going to go back and start using my files. Okay, now that I have the ring part done with the sprue, I'm going to switch over to using my 220 grit sandpaper. Okay, so there's my 400, my 600, and then my 220. I'm going to try not to use files just because they do kind of dig in and make larger scratches, but I do want to have them because I'll probably have to use them a little bit, but we'll kind of see. If you end up having to use your file, one thing to do about it, if you can, it's hard to do it because I struggle with it, is you want to always push, if the round end over here, where your number's at, you always want to push away from it and do something like this. You don't want to do this because sometimes it can actually damage the files themselves. So what I should be doing every single time is just going in one direction. So I push down, lift up, push down, lift up, and that way you use your file correctly and you shouldn't damage it. But I'm going to try to do everything with 220. I'm not going to do the whole ring. I'm just going to kind of do a small section of it so I can show you the process. But the way you use it, you start off with 220 and you go in one direction the whole time. So in this case, I'm going to be going, with the ring. And I want to keep going that direction until I see all the scratches are going with the ring in terms of they're going left to right. I'm getting around this bevel side. Again, if you've just got your nails done, you are welcome to use one of those ring holders. Now this is where you might look at, you might see kind of a blemish right here. And if that's the case, you try to get it out with your paper. And I just got it out, so it's gone. Sometimes, however, that's called pitting, and you can't get those out because they go pretty deep. and then you might run into new pits. So you might have to talk to me about that to see if it's a pit or not. I usually can tell. It's more of like a pinprick round circle is how you usually can tell. Now I want to go around this whole thing. I'm getting on this side for this bevel. And if you did a good job, you know, in the wax, it shouldn't take you as long. Because now I can see all my file lines right along here, the way that it reflects. I don't know if you can see it there or not. But if I would have done a better job with the steel wool, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now, which is trying to get those file lines out. But you always start with the 220. You might want to say, well, I'm just going to skip and go right to 400 and save myself some time. You actually will make more time for yourself, and your project will not turn out very well because you are going to be more concerned that, you know, it's taking so long and you're just going to just skip and not try to get to this mirror finish. Okay, so I would have all that done. Next is you switch over to your 400 grit and you go opposite of that. So now you go against it. You go this direction. You go this direction until all your scratches are going, you know, crossways. And these last ones usually go pretty quick if you do a good job with your 220. So again, I'm going this way with the 400 because my 200 was going this way. So you know that you're at a certain level when you can look at it and you can see your scratches are going in that direction. Now I'm only going to do a small section so you can kind of see all the steps. Okay, so that's basically done. Now I'm going to switch over to 600. And same thing, I'm going to go back to how the 200 was going. Now this feels awfully smooth, so I'm going to, like I showed you in another video, hopefully, take a layer of this off. So you're going to do the tape a little bit. At that point, you can kind of just rip it off. And you got a whole new sanding stick. Okay, so I have my 600. I have my area. I'm going to go the same way that I started with my 200. And I keep going this way until all of my scratches are going this way then. This is where you make the difference between like an A or a B or a B and a C or sometimes an A and a C, you know, because people like shiny rings, you know, and so the presentation of this is pretty important. Now the inside is also something that you need to get. Now we do have scrap ones of these that you probably end up getting. Then let's just say that this was a scrap piece, and you can take your pencil. Can roll that all up. I like to set mine down and do this. And then you just kind of keep going back and forth like this until you get all the stuff off. Now mine does have a number of air pockets in there, so you can switch over to your half round and get those out before you switch over to your newspaper. Again, be careful of our tables. You'll end up having to get a piece of wood that you can kind of work on your project. I just don't want you working directly on the tables with this, so make sure if I haven't given you one, you ask for one. It's a little better. And then if I had the 220, this would work a lot easier. But this is all done, so let's go over to the polishing table and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so these are our buffing wheels, and we always work left to right. The red is on the left and the black is on the right. The red is called a red rouge. Sometimes I have them labeled. I do not right now, but it should say red rouge here. The black is more of a kind of how you can get your mirror finish on this. This can get a little frustrating sometimes because people think they need to use a lot of this stuff to work, and if the kind of the opposite is true. If you use a lot of it, it's just going to gum this entire thing up, and you're never going to make this nice and shiny. So one thing that I try to do is always have like a stick of wood here that if you turn this on, you can kind of press into it like this, and it'll help get this cleaned off in case somebody put too much stuff on it, okay? Also, these are spinning pretty fast. You never want to have loose clothing. You never want to have your hair get caught into this and rip out a section of your scalp. You don't want to have, you know, like a tie or a necklace or anything, or an earbud, you know, like this non-wireless one. So you got to make a smart decision here, okay, and not have any of that stuff. So I'm going to go to my section that I was working on. So this is it right here. You know, I didn't do anything else yet, but I have this all polished down. Now my goal is to see myself in the reflection, and that's how you get your A- or better. So I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to take this red rouge, and I'm just going to push it in a little bit, okay? I don't need to do it a lot. Now I'm going to take this, and I'm going to be pressing in, and I'm going to be doing this, maneuvering this like this a lot. Okay, so now just that little bit right there, I'm already starting to get a nice polish. This is like your final sanding on here. Let me flip this over. I'm not pressing very hard, it's light pressure, but I am trying to move this around a lot. This does cause friction, you know, so this can get a little toasty. Sometimes I'll have a cup here with water. You can kind of dip it in and dry it off a little bit. Other times you might have to go to the sink and kind of do that. Now, if this is getting black and not polished, do two things. The first thing you should do is just clean this off, because sometimes you might have way too much stuff on here. And then you just throw a little bit more of that rouge on. And hopefully it'll get that away. Okay, so this section is done. I'm gonna switch over to here. I'm gonna add a little bit of that polish. To both sides. And then you can see that it is amazingly shiny. It's like gold right now. Now I still have some of that buildup of that black. This is where you would take it over to the sink, and then you would use a cloth towel. You're not using paper towel because paper towel is made of wood, so it can actually kind of scratch this back up again. But you do this to the whole ring, and you'll have something amazing. Inside's a little tricky because we don't quite have the tools to do this well. So I grade on the outside. You can still take your time and sand this, but we're not going to polish the inside so much. You can hand polish it, but that takes a lot longer. It's the outside that I'm looking for. So good luck in your project. If you get a little frustrated with this, let me know. I can help you out with it, and we can go from there. Thanks.